The FBI tried to put the president in jail, and he hasn't forgotten it. According to a federal lawsuit filed by 3 former FBI executives, those are FBI Director Kash Patel's own words, explaining why he fired dozens of senior agents who had worked on investigations involving Donald Trump. When Senator Dick Durbin confronted him with this statement on September 16, 2025, Patel didn't deny saying it. He didn't call it fabricated. He didn't claim he was misquoted. He just pivoted. And that pivot, that calculated shift from addressing the allegation to explaining the necessity of restructuring, told everyone watching exactly what they needed to know. September 16, 2025, 2:17 p.m. FBI Director Kash Patel. The afternoon session had already been contentious. FBI Director Kash Patel had spent the morning defending his handling of the Charlie Kirk investigation, his premature public statements, and his aggressive use of social media. But now, as the hearing resumed after a brief recess, Senator Dick Durbin, the ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, held a document that would change the tone entirely. It wasn't a classified memo, wasn't an anonymous tip, wasn't partisan opposition research. It was a federal lawsuit, filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, a public document that anyone could read. Plaintiff, former FBI Deputy Director Paul Abbate and 2 other former executives. Defendant, FBI Director Kash Patel. Allegation, unlawful termination and political retaliation. Durbin had been in the Senate for over 2 decades. He'd questioned FBI directors through multiple administrations. He knew how to build a case methodically, how to use an official's own words against them, how to make denial impossible. And today, he had 68 pages of sworn allegations containing Patel's own statements. Director Patel, Durbin began, his voice carrying the measured tone of someone who had prepared extensively. I want to ask you about personnel decisions you've made since becoming FBI director. Patel nodded, his expression neutral. He'd known this was coming. His legal team had briefed him on the lawsuit. He had prepared responses. Senator, as FBI director, I have the responsibility to ensure the Bureau is operating at maximum effectiveness. Some of the personnel changes were retirements that were already planned. Others were based on performance evaluations, operational needs, and reorganization to better align with current threats. It was a standard bureaucratic answer, the kind that sounds reasonable without saying anything specific. But Durbin wasn't accepting generalities today. Director, I'm holding a federal lawsuit filed by 3 of the officials you terminated. Have you read this complaint? Patel's jaw tightened slightly. Senator, I'm aware of the lawsuit. The Department of Justice is handling the legal response, and I've been advised not to discuss specifics of pending litigation. I'm not asking you to discuss your legal strategy. I'm asking if you're familiar with the allegations. I'm aware of them, yes. Durbin opened the document to a page marked with a yellow tab. According to this lawsuit, in a meeting on June 3rd of this year, you told several FBI officials, and I'm quoting directly, the FBI tried to put the president in jail, and he hasn't forgotten it. Did you say that? The room went silent. Every camera zoomed in on Patel's face. Every reporter stopped typing, waiting for his response. Patel took a measured breath before answering. Senator, I don't recall that specific phrasing, but I did have conversations with FBI leadership about the need to rebuild trust with the administration and the American people after years of politicized investigations. It wasn't a denial, it was confirmation wrapped in diplomatic language. You don't recall that specific phrasing, Durbin repeated slowly, but you don't deny saying something substantially similar. Senator, I had many conversations with FBI leadership about restoring the Bureau's reputation and… Director Patel, that's a yes or no question. Did you tell FBI officials that the president hasn't forgotten about investigations into him? The directness of the question left no room for evasion. Senator, I may have discussed the political environment and the need to demonstrate that the FBI operates independently of past political pressures. Durbin nodded slowly, making a note. Let me read you another allegation from this lawsuit. According to the complaint, in July, you told Deputy Director Abbate, before terminating him, that you knew the firings were likely illegal, but that you had to do it to keep your job. Did you say that? This was the nuclear option. Not just that Patel fired people for political reasons, but that he allegedly admitted knowing it was illegal before doing it anyway. Patel's expression hardened. Senator, that characterization is taken completely out of context and is part of a lawsuit filed by disgruntled former employees seeking financial compensation. So you deny saying it? I deny that I ever knowingly violated federal employment law or engaged in unlawful termination. Durbin leaned forward. Director, I didn't ask if you violated the law. I asked if you said those words. Did you tell anyone that you knew the firings were likely illegal but felt pressured to do them anyway? Patel's glanced at his attorney sitting behind him before responding. Senator, personnel conversations often involve discussions of legal risks, political pressures, and operational necessities. Without seeing the full context of any alleged conversation, I can't confirm or deny specific phrasing that may be mischaracterized in a lawsuit. It was the most lawyerly non-answer Patel had given all day, and everyone in that room recognized it as an inability to deny the allegation. Durbin pressed further. The lawsuit also alleges that you implemented loyalty tests, including polygraph examinations, that asked agents whether they had said negative things about you or the president. Is that true? Senator, polygraph protocols are standard for certain security clearances and sensitive positions. Director, I know what standard polygraph questions are. I'm asking if you specifically added questions about personal loyalty to you and to President Trump. Patel's pause was telling. Senator, ensuring senior FBI officials are focused on the Bureau's mission rather than political agendas is appropriate. If questions were added to assess whether individuals could work constructively in the current leadership environment, that's within my authority. Durbin's expression showed barely contained frustration. So you're confirming that you're testing FBI agents for personal loyalty to you and the president. I'm confirming that I'm ensuring FBI leadership can work effectively together without personal conflicts undermining operations. Minutes 6 to 8. The pattern evidence. Durbin wasn't done. He pulled out another document, this one a list. Director, let me read you the names of some of the senior officials you've terminated. Deputy Director Paul Abbate, 30 years of service, led counterterrorism operations. Executive Assistant Director Jennifer Moore, 25 years, oversaw criminal investigations. SAC Michael Torres, 22 years, Miami Field Office, led major cartel cases. SAC David Chen, 19 years, supervised January 6th investigations. SAC Robert Williams, 20 years, oversaw Mar-a-Lago search warrant execution. He looked up from the list. Director, do you see the pattern? Every single one of these officials either worked on investigations involving President Trump or his associates, or supervised agents who did. That's not coincidence. That's retaliation. Patel's response was firm, but showed the first hints of frustration. Senator, with respect, you're cherry-picking names to create a narrative. Many officials who worked on those investigations are still employed. The individuals you mentioned were terminated for specific performance reasons unrelated to past cases. Then provide the performance evaluations. The challenge was direct and put Patel in an impossible position. Senator, personnel files are confidential. I can't publicly disclose individual performance evaluations without violating privacy regulations. How convenient, Durbin said, his tone sharp. You fire people allegedly for performance issues, but you can't show anyone the performance problems. We're just supposed to trust that every single senior official who worked on Trump-related cases happened to have performance issues that required immediate termination? Senator, I understand your skepticism, but I operate under legal constraints regarding personnel privacy. Director, during your confirmation hearing, you testified under oath that all FBI employees would be protected against political retribution. Do you remember saying that? Patel's expression showed he knew exactly where this was going. Yes, Senator, I remember. Were you lying then, or are you lying now? The bluntness of the question drew gasps from some spectators, but Durbin's expression showed he wasn't being theatrical. He was genuinely asking which testimony was false. Senator, I was not lying then, and I'm not lying now. The personnel decisions I've made are based on legitimate organizational needs. Organizational needs that just happen to align with removing everyone who investigated the president. Senator, that's a gross mischaracterization. Then explain the pattern, Director. Explain why we should believe this is about performance when every major firing involves someone connected to Trump investigations. Minutes 9 through 11, the damning detail. Durbin pulled out yet another document. Patel was beginning to realize that the senator had brought an entire case file to this hearing. Director, the lawsuit also includes testimony from former colleagues alleging that you maintained what they call an enemies list, a document listing FBI personnel you considered disloyal. Did such a list exist? Patel shifted in his seat. Senator, I kept notes about personnel matters as any executive would. Was it titled enemies or disloyal personnel? Senator, I don't recall specific document titles. The lawsuit quotes an email you sent to a White House liaison using the phrase cleaning house of Obama holdovers. Did you send that email? Patel's pause confirmed the answer before he spoke. Senator, if I discussed personnel changes with administration officials, that's appropriate coordination between agencies. It's political purge, Director. That's what it's called when you fire career law enforcement officials based on who appointed them or who they investigated. Durbin leaned back, his expression showing exhaustion mixed with anger. Director Patel, I want to read you one more excerpt from this lawsuit. It's an allegation from a former executive assistant director describing a meeting where you allegedly said, and I quote, I could be sued and later deposed for this, but the president wants these people gone, and if I don't do it, I'll be gone too. He looked directly at Patel. That's not performance management. That's not organizational restructuring. That's a political hit job executed under pressure from the White House, done by someone who knew it was wrong, but did it anyway to save his own job. The accusation hung in the air like a verdict. Patel's response came slowly, each word carefully chosen. Senator, that alleged statement is part of a lawsuit by individuals seeking to overturn legitimate employment decisions. Without the full context of any conversation, if it even occurred, I cannot address every allegation in pending litigation. What I can tell you is that I have acted within my authority as FBI Director to make personnel decisions I believed were in the best interest of the Bureau and national security. Even if those decisions were likely illegal, your alleged words. Senator, I did not knowingly violate any law. That's not what I asked, Director. The exchange ended without resolution. Durbin's time expired. Patel remained at the witness table, legally protected from directly discussing the lawsuit, but politically damaged by his inability to deny the most serious allegations.
The aftermath, when silence speaks louder than words. Within hours, legal analysts across the political spectrum noted what Patel didn't say. He didn't deny discussing that the president hasn't forgotten investigations. He didn't deny feeling pressure to fire agents to keep his job. He didn't deny being warned the firings were likely illegal. He didn't deny maintaining lists of disloyal personnel. Conservative media tried to frame it as disgruntled employees making false claims, but the lawsuit's specific allegations, including emails, meeting dates, and witnesses, suggested documentation existed.
Liberal media called for Patel's resignation, but Republicans on the committee showed no appetite for forcing out an FBI director who was doing exactly what they'd hoped he would do, clearing out the people who had investigated Trump. The FBI Agents Association issued a rare public statement expressing deep concern about the chilling effect these terminations are having on agent morale and willingness to pursue politically sensitive cases. 3 more former officials filed similar lawsuits within 10 days. And perhaps most tellingly, FBI recruitment applications dropped 40% in the quarter following Patel's mass firings. The message to potential agents was clear. The FBI protects the president, not the Constitution. And if you forget that, your career is over. Durbin's questioning didn't lead to Patel's removal. It didn't result in criminal charges. It didn't even generate sustained media attention beyond a news cycle. But it did something more important. It created a public record of allegations that Patel couldn't fully deny, based on his own alleged words, describing a political purge he allegedly knew was illegal, but carried out anyway. Sometimes the most damaging testimony isn't what someone admits, it's what they can't bring themselves to deny.